Hello everyone, welcome to Irish Film Bites, and today we're starting a series of videos introducing Irish women in film research or in the film production industry. And today I'm bringing a very special guest. Her name is Maeve McGrath, and she's the director of the Kerry Film Festival, and she has also done her master research in Maeve McGrath College. So, very welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to be here. Thank you for taking some time to speak to me and to the channel.
Delighted to be here.
All right, and the reason I invited you today is because we have a special date coming in, which is the Oscars. Everybody knows about it, but there's something special about it, which is today, this year, we have 2 Irish films nominated, right? Short films.
Yeah, so we've a great track record with the Oscars Ireland, and yes, Late Afternoon and Animation is nominated in the best short animation, and of course Detainment, which is a live action short, has been nominated. Detainment won at Kerry Film Festival this year. I mean, it's won at a lot of festivals this year, but we were delighted to have it at Kerry Film Festival, and we're delighted to follow its journey.
Great, and you have done your research in the road to the Oscars, the Irish short films that have been nominated in the last couple of years, succeeding and making Irish people proud. So what would you credit this for?
Well, it was really interesting. I've always been fascinated with the Irish short film, and when I was deciding on what my thesis was going to look like, I watched a lot of Irish shorts and just saw this pattern that Irish short film had been increasingly nominated for an Academy Award. And I was just looking specifically at live action short, not necessarily at animation, because there's scope for even more with animation, and I wanted to explore that a little bit more. What was it about the Irish short film that made its path into the States and made its path towards the Oscars? And I explored a number of things, funding, the Irish short storytelling, whether that be theatrical, in writing, in literature, and then in the short form. And it was a real discovery for me. I went on a real journey, speaking to many people, interviews, case studies,
people from the industry,
absolutely, filmmakers themselves, and it threw up lots of interesting facts.
Yes, and what would be your main discovery from this research? What were you most impressed about?
Well, I think for me at the time when there was this large succession of films being nominated way back, when Six Shooter was winning and The Crush was nominated, there was a funding scheme, quite a significant funding scheme in place at the Irish Film Board. So they were funding the making of short film, whether it was Gearscanorn, whether it was which obviously had to be in the Irish language, or whether it was English speaking shorts. And I found that an influx of cash into a film made a difference, obviously, because you have better quality of equipment and that. And even someone like Michael Cray, who had self-funded his film, The Crush, it was a significant budget. So budget played a big part in it. Also the story, the way that the Irish story was portrayed. So Six Shooter, absolutely, crazy black humour within that. The Crush, this boy with a gun, is he going to shoot this man or not? Which he doesn't ultimately. That natural storytelling that the Irish have, I felt that was a very important part, and I set out to prove that. But one interesting one that came through to me, I had other kind of ideas, was that children played a large part and featured in many of the films that have been nominated. So, in Six Shooter, there's a young person. In The Crush, there's a young person. In The Door, it was featured
in
around
Detainment, even though it's based on a real life.
Detainment, which has been nominated. And, I think Vincent himself, would attain that the children's performances in Detainment are extraordinary. So that was really key to me, that there were so many children were part of New Boy, which was nominated for an Academy Award. Children at the centre of that again. So that was a real shocker, actually. That kind of jumped out at me. And but also I think another strain that come through to me, there was an increase in filmmaking courses in Ireland over the last 20 years. So we had a lot of people learning skills, learning quality skills, training here in Ireland. And so there was a good product going out.
Do you think in terms of funding, so you said it's crucial, is it mainly funded by the Irish Film Board, or is there money coming in from US, for example, in order to, as it gets more seen through the Oscar, do you think, is it being funded by international companies or something?
Well, the making of a short can cost anything from nothing to 80,000. You know, the Garscanon schemes would have been about €8,000, which isn't a lot of money, but you know, you can raise a film from that. The films like the New Boys and the Six Shooters and films like that came through had quite significant funding. But a film like I said, The Crush, also Detainment, they were self-funded by the directors, you know, so somebody went and found, you know, 20 to 30,000 and put that money together, the producers, the directors. But having said that, look at Benjamin Cleary's Stutterer, which would have been, you know, the big one 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. That was a small budget. But, you know, Benjamin had put a really great team around him.
And you need to believe in the project so much to in order to invest in it. And
The Silent Child, which was, there's another film with a child in it, which won an Oscar. The Silent Child won last year. And, you know, they had, you know, a certain level of funding, but it was a really great team that was together for that as well. So there are many things that feed into it. You know, you don't just get nominated for an Oscar by accident.
Because you, as a film festival director, can you spot or identify the movies that you think, oh my God, this is so good, that actually can run for an Oscar? Because an Oscar is kind of a reference worldwide of quality of storytelling. I mean,
you can, the quality of a film that comes into it depends, as you imagine, on a number of factors. You know, is it a good script? How's it shot? How's the sound? You know, various things like that. So it can really depend. You always know a film's really special. There's no question.
True.
You just, I mean, Kerry Film Festival have selected not only Oscar winners, but Oscar nominated films successfully over the last couple of years. It's just happened. We're very lucky they've come to us and screened with us. But, you know, something just pops into, you know, we use our submission platform as Film Freeway. And we're watching them, and we have a panel of people that will watch them. And just something special. You know them. When they come in, you know, they jump off.
And you have such nuances because, for example, you see Six Shooter. It's a crazy idea. But at the same time, you have stories like The Crush. The Crush, exactly. Yes. It's a lovely story about a child that is in love with his teacher.
Until he pulls a gun. You know, he goes out to kill the fiancé. Exactly. So it actually has a twist in it, that kind of black humour twist in. And I know Michael Cray had said to me when I'd spoken to Michael when I was doing my case study and my interview for my thesis, he had said when he was in America, a lot of people had said to him, oh, you know, in America, the child would have already killed the fiancé. So the kind of little bounce in it was that he didn't end up, you know, killing the fiancé. The guy's on his knees thinking this is his last day. So there was a little bit of a twist in it. And
I don't know if it's something that the Irish have, that is the sarcastic humor you see in general in people's life. And as you said, if the story was American, could be something completely different, the end. But
I think we the Irish in particular, I think we're not afraid to, you know, to go down.
Make humor of your situation.
We're so used to short stories as well. You know, we grew up with them in school. You know, I would have done The First Confession, you know, all these little stories that you remember through your childhood. I certainly do. And, you know, Ruth Barton had said in one of her books that, you know, Jim Sheridan had always talked about going back to the classics, you know, going back to Joyce, going back to the O'Casey's, the Sings. And we have just such a rich culture of literature in this country, a rich writing skill. And I think that shows then into short film. Of course it does. It transfers over into that. And so when it goes out onto the international stage, it does pique, you know, people's interest.
So one of the other things that I realized, and it's not only here, short movies, they are not really so accessible to the general audience because they don't get a cinematic release. You see feature films, but the only way to access these short stories are through festivals, basically.
Yeah, it's a challenge, you know, to get short films out into the general and the wider public. I think it's changing slightly. So the Gerskanons from the Irish Film Board, that Rovums, they would have gone out into schools. Vimeo is brilliant, you know, they do like the short of the week, and they do, you know, they would pick certain shorts that they would think would be good for people to watch. I think it's getting easier. Apple are really great now. I think they have a run of shorts that are out there. You probably have to pay to see them. That's okay. I think micro payments is becoming a big part of that. You know, you can pay euro to see something, and euro is nothing. So people are happy to do that. I think you do have to seek them out. You know, you have to go looking for them. If you want to watch short film, they're out there. The Oscars.
Exactly. Because, for example, Detainment, I really wanted to watch, and I was kind of wondering, how can I watch Detainment? Because everybody's talking about it. It's such a buzz, and film reviews, people are very much split up if they like it or if they don't.
Yeah. There's a lot of comment on Detainment from people who haven't seen it. So, and it is an incredibly difficult subject matter. There is absolutely no question about it. But at the end of the day, it's a short film that, yes, you can't get to see at the moment unless you go to a festival. There will probably be a time where it will come up online. A lot of filmmakers keep their films close to their heart. The moment you put it out into the public domain, it's out there, you know, and a lot of film festivals have very strict rules. It can't have been premiered somewhere else, for instance, for it to feature at certain film festivals. Certain award ceremonies won't allow you to have a film online if it's going to be part of that ceremony. So you have a stringent kind of set of rules that you need to follow.
Policies, actually.
And you have to make sure that you adhere to those. So if you think you have a cracker of a film on your hands, you're not going to put it out online. So you have to seek out festivals where you're going to go and see that. Sometimes it's worth connecting with the filmmaker and saying, you know, I'm really interested in your film. Is it possible for me to review it? You know, they can send you a disposable link that disappears once you've watched it. So there's a number of
hints. Good hint for those who are interested.
There's a number, and I would be, you know, there would be films that I would seek out that I might have seen in Berlin or somewhere like that. I'd say, ask the filmmaker, could you send me that? We'd like to see it. I'd like for the panel to see that. And they will do that,
Great hint. And so I was researching about Irish short movies in a historical perspective. And I've seen, I think it's one of the first ones, maybe. It's from 1973, from Louis Marcus. And he struck, I think, 2 shorts in the Oscars, and it was back in 1973. And he was like, "Oh, there's no Irish people in here, not much."
Well, we can go further back to Return to Glenascall. Was the first Irish live-action short nominated. There were kind of 2 different categories at the time, and that was back in 1956, 57. So we have a long history of actual short film production. We're not new to the film industry here, but what we are new to is the skills. We're training up far more people in the last 20, 30 years. And that's
becoming
really
a
good.
Consistent industry.
Absolutely. And we have a film industry here. You know, we've had Vikings, Game of Thrones, all the various different films and TV series that have been made here. We have a really well qualified set of people who are able to make film, from producers to directors to cinematographers to gaffers, you know.
But what most people reference to is this history on as a film location, or for example in Ardmore Studios. But nowadays it's becoming more and more popular, and Irish films, Irish stories, actually, not really production set here, but Irish stories making to the Oscars, which is fascinating.
It is. It's great, and it's. I think it just shows the quality that we have, and it shows the various things that I said to you: the investment in funding and training, you know, the quality of acting, the quality of casting, and a lot of people forget about this.
So you did your research in Irish shorts, as we're talking about it, and you had the opportunity to interview the director of The Crush. And what was his personal view and outcomes of this post-Oscar experience?
So it's interesting, you know, because Michael funded his own film. He went off out to the Oscars, you know, being nominated. They didn't win, you know, but that's fine. You're down to the last 5. I think that's okay.
That's a huge step, anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And so Michael's background was in advertising. So it was very interesting for him, So
it's like a little bit of as Yorgos Lanthimos, because I think he started in the music video or advertising as well.
Of course,
and migrate it to the
people
film.
move, you know, through their various, and you learn a lot from, you know, being in advertising to making that, you know, that big jump over to something, a short film. You know, it's not such a jump, I guess. So he had written the Crush and obviously, you know, had made it and filmed it and put together a great team for it. But what's really interesting, you know, you come home and, you know, I think everybody expects you're going to be just, work is going to be thrown at you. And I've spoken to a number of directors and people who have had the experience of going to, it's not necessarily so, you know, you don't automatically have a gold checkbook. You still have to work hard to get your funding. You still have to work hard, you know, to continue on to do your next work. And there's no magic, you know, kind of thing that says, no, the world is open, you can make whatever you want.
Yes.
You know,
There's
it's still out, but
a lot of hard work involved.
Filmmaking business is expensive, and you know, there are many directors looking to come back and do another film, and a lot of people say, oh, somebody's making a short to jump to a feature. I know many short filmmakers who just love making shorts. I know I love making shorts. Yes. Shorts are, and it is a stepping stone for many, and of course it is.
True.
If you can produce, you know, an Oscar-nominated film, you know, say this is the work that I've done, it can help, I'm sure. But
and I've seen, for example, I was watching an interview with the director of Six Shooter.
Oh yes,
and it's absolutely, he was talking about it, and he was like, you know, when you make a short movie, you just want to try ideas and try something different. You don't expect to go for the Oscar. You're never settled. Yeah. I mean, of course, I think every filmmaker would have this dream, you know, to be recognized by the Academy Awards. Yeah. But at the same time, you're just a filmmaker doing your work and doing what you believe in.
And you love it, you know, and even with The Shore, I remember, you know, reading up and researching a lot about The Shore, and you know, it was at a time in their life when they just wanted to make a film. They really wanted it, and so they got a pile of people together. Just happened to be absolutely brilliant actors and people like that. But you know, they got a team of people together to make this film, and they did. They put together a great project. But you know, just because you've made your way to the you know, Academy Awards and that doesn't automatically mean you're going to get into. You can build on that, and that's great. But you know, making films, it's all about a quality script. Finding the funding, finding the people to put it together for you, and really, I suppose, you know, working with the people around you and learning who do I work really, really well with, and continuing those relationships.
True, yes. All right, and something else that you want to wrap up, and any advice for those young filmmakers that are trying to make it to the Kerry Film Festival? Any advice?
Well, we get about 1,000 submissions a year, and we screen just over 100 films. So the competition
10%.
is real. It is really, really difficult. I have to say, I screened my film Vanner at pretty much every film festival in Ireland, and it didn't get into Kerry Film Festival when this was previous to me being part of the festival. So when I came along, I went, so you didn't film my film or screen my film. But actually, there's reasons for that, and I can see it now, being on the other side. The films that come into the Kerry Film Festival are truly amazing. We get films from all over the world. We are an international film festival. We get films from Spain to Belgium to Africa, everywhere we get films from. So the competition is really tough.
Great. And when is Kerry Film Festival taking place?
Kerry Film Festival is in October 2019. It's the 20th edition of the film festival, and submissions are now open. Okay,
great. Thank you so much for taking some time to
speak
to us. It was a pleasure. Amazing, and best of luck.
Thank you so much.